Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Shonen and Chill, hosted by Zenrotto and Asaratha.
I thought about doing a bit where like I light up my little avatar with the green circle, but I don't say anything. So that
Yeah, so for those of you that noticed in the last episode went up, we had some audio problems, and it just fucking fell apart. I don't know what happened. We have a theory because my mic was acting funky, so it's like, oh, maybe
yeah,
that messed
before
up.
we recorded last episode, his microphone changed. I think on Discord, and I think or not Discord, sorry. Actually, it was Discord too,
It
right?
was Discord,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think Windows might have changed your default audio settings, so it's just
It just
completely
freaked
fucked up.
out or something. Yeah, very
Yeah.
possible. Um, so. We're gonna do a little bit of a different one today. We're gonna talk about our top threes, and then instead of spending like 45 minutes of the hour saying this was a chapter and then moving on for the ones that we aren't that interested in, we're gonna talk about current events and drama and all that good stuff. Because that's what everyone's here for anyway. They're here for the
This is
bit.
a news. Yeah, this is a news podcast now.
Yeah, yeah. News.
Yeah, we're
Massive
talking
air
about
quotes
news.
are on that
We're
word.
talking we're talking about news like MHA incest and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, by the way, this is easily going to be the quickest demonetized episode of the show ever. There's only one other episode that was demonetized ever in the
Yeah.
history of the show. I don't know why either. It was the debut Kagurabachi one, like the very first episode that Kagurabachi was.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't rewatch the episodes once we're done. Um,
I might have said fuck too early or something, and it might have got demonetized.
maybe yeah, maybe you said it like within the first 30 seconds or something, and that got picked
I'm
up.
pretty
But
sure I did that this time too. So
well, yeah, whatever. I mean, the amount of times we're gonna say the word incest, it was over before. I might not even monetize this. What's the point?
you might as well try.
Honestly,
You might as well try.
yeah. All right.
Everyone, make sure your ad blocks are off.
Yeah, we're really gonna need that first 100 views if we make it past the content
Yeah,
filter.
yeah.
All right. What do we want to do first? Do we want to do the news bit first, or do we want to talk about the chapters, get them out of the way,
Let's
and then
talk.
roll
Let's
into the
talk
news?
about. Let's talk about the chapters so
Okay,
that people stick through and the watch time goes up.
got it. All right. So what's your top three?
I'm just gonna do the same top three I did last episode. Which is Kagurabachi number one, number two, Undead Unluck, and number three, Kill Blue. I don't think I would make Kill Blue my third this week, but it's just I don't feel like finding another one.
Fair enough. I will parrot that one almost exactly.
Nice.
Um, or maybe Chainsaw Man. Maybe. Yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna do yours so that we don't have to talk about four chapters. How about that?
Great.
Uh,
Sick.
banger. All right. So then we'll jump first into Undead Unluck.
Um. So, like I said in the silent episode, for those who were reading the our lips, I thought Fuko making her appearance at the master room table, that was awesome because it was the exact same way Andy did at the Union at the very start of the series, and also those two premiered in the anime, and also Fuko did the thing in the manga at the same exact time. Obviously, manga authors love to do that stuff where they line up shit in the anime and the manga. That's fun. Um, I love how she immediately called the bluff of them not being able to attack, and then Andy is on the sun holding back the master rules. That's
So
insane.
fucking. It's so raw. It's
So
so
cool. He's a
cool.
sunspot, dude. That's so
Yeah.
cool. And you especially have to remember that he can feel all the pain that he feels, and he's been sitting on the sun for maybe millions of years, enduring 5.6 thousand Celsius for that long.
Yep. And he's. I think the
Um,
image of him on the sun, he's like giving a thumbs up, isn't he?
yeah, something like that. He's got his hand up. I remember. Um, and then there was the rip stuff that was discourse, as much discourse as Undead Unluck can have, considering it's not particularly popular.
Yeah, yeah, that was weird. It's almost funny discourse in retrospect, considering what
Yeah.
we're about to talk about with MHA. Yeah, everyone
That's
was like,
true. That's true.
it's weird that Rip is marrying two girls. They're sisters. What's wrong with that? But I don't know. The sisters aren't marrying each other, nor does
Yeah.
they don't have to like get physical with one another at all.
Yeah.
What I think it must just be because the primary like audience for this is like teenagers and teenage
Maybe.
brained individuals. But isn't it weird how often stuff has to fall back on sex with with shonen stuff?
No, you're 100% right, and it was probably something I was gonna say for the MHA part, where everyone is always viewing everything that happens all the time through a lens of like people being sexual with each other.
It's just constant. And again, I don't know if that's
Yeah,
because the target audience again is horny teenagers or people that never grew out of like teenage brain. Um, but it's crazy. It's crazy to look at like a wedding and be like, well, they're fucking. Like, no, there's so many reasons that you can get married that aren't sexual reasons.
yeah.
Um, I don't know, man. Also, I like Ramen Guy in the new chapter. I like him. I like that there is a myth about
Oh
Fuko being the
yeah,
legendary ramen
yeah,
shop
yeah. That
customer.
was cool. Yeah.
It's really funny.
My only possible complaint is I don't know how much more interesting these back and forth missions to retrieve old characters can get. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a worry that I've had for a while. Of
Like
like,
I think Rip was unique because Rip is cool as hell, but
yes,
like
I also think
Unburn, I don't.
Rip introduced enough stuff where it didn't feel like the others, where it was just like we have to go get
Yeah.
this person. Um, and plus, like Rip was a major character in the last one. I thought Rip would
Mhm.
have been the perfect one to stop on.
Yeah, that's fair.
To get him back and then be like, okay, we're done collecting team members. And even if you wanted to time skip and you'd be like, oh, we have other team members now, like,
Mhm.
that would be fine too. But Unburn, not really that exciting of a character to be getting.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we already know what's gonna happen, right? Like, there's gonna be the trials and tribulations of getting Unburn on board, and then they're gonna change his interpretation of Unburn because the sun technically isn't burning, which we talked about in the silent episode for the
Yes.
silent film enjoyers. Um, and he'll be able to negate the heat from the sun or something like that. It's just that's cool, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's fine, I guess, is the ultimate thing here. Is like
I,
whatever.
I don't think I don't think that this will be as uninteresting as the space stuff, which sucked because
No, that
considering
was awful.
I'm a big space head, and somehow the space part was like the most boring part of the post loop.
Yes, that sucked a lot. It won't be, and it's like fun. It's just like silly. We're gonna have a ramen
Yeah,
contest or whatever. Like, okay, I can
yeah,
get behind that. It's a good little unwinding bit after we just got a lot of plot dropped on us. But man, um, I don't much care about Unburn. I just think he's kind of funny.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll be okay
it'll
at
be.
worst.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be fine. It's not gonna be like shitty, but I just would like to stop doing the same thing over. It feels like we're just. It's like when you get like play a video game and you're just kind of doing like the same quest 100 times
Yeah,
to like get to the next section of the game. You're like, I'm ready for the plot to move on now.
yeah. It
Yeah,
feels like a consequence of the union not being particularly well fleshed out before the loop, and I don't think that they had to be. Because I felt like they served their role as characters just fine. Because obviously not every character needs this kind of arc, which apparently every character is getting now, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Because
yeah,
it's a criticism that is lobbed at MHA a particular amount, and as much as I do shit on MHA these days, I really don't think that MHA had an obligation to extrapolate on every single class member. I feel like that was an impossible task that would have killed the series.
agreed. And you see it a lot. It's not just like an MHA thing. Like I think
Yeah,
the oldest one that comes to mind is like Dragon Ball, where people are like,
yeah,
what about useless fuck number 14? Like, why is he not Tien. Why is Tien not
mhm.
here? Because Tien hasn't been useful in 17 years. That's why Tien's
No,
not here.
I
And
totally think it's fair to want more from characters that you might have seen. You're like, oh, I think that's cool. I think they're cool, and I would like to see more of them. I think it's fair. But I don't think you should expect every series to extrapolate on every character that's on screen.
yes, like it's perfectly fine to want more of something you don't have, but
Hmm.
you wanting it doesn't necessarily mean it's good. Like there's a weird
Hmm.
binary when it comes to people who look at like manga and like anime in general. And it's like if a series does this thing, it is good. And if it doesn't do this thing, it is bad. Because you see like
Like,
the same shit of
yeah.
like the oh this villain is bad because he doesn't have a backstory or like a deep
Sometimes it works, man.
backstory. Sometimes it works just fine. Like Frieza is one of the most iconic villains of all time. His backstory is that he was very strong. Like that's
Yeah,
it.
it really just depends on the series.
It's the series and the
Like,
execution of the character.
yeah, like
There's so
not,
much more to it than just some kind of black and white binary for any
yeah,
literary device.
not every character in a series is Gojo.
Yeah, and it's weird to see criticism in like this genre specifically narrowed to such an extent because if it was really as simple as like a rubric of do this thing or not, then there would be no
Mhm.
bad stories because everyone
Yeah.
knows the checklist of the shit you're supposed to do. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different factors, and it's why I mean, I literally just posted a video about this last week. It's why I really try not to talk about stories objectively because there's so many different factors for so many different stories, and obviously things can differ per culture, per life background, all kinds of different shit. So like, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
complicated
just
topic,
it is.
but like,
It's more than our hee hee ha ha pee pee poo poo podcast jokes are suited to handle. But it's just there's so much that goes into forming a narrative in a story. And if it
it's
were
hard,
really as
man.
simple as like, oh, all of your characters have to have a fucking data book of information about them, then everyone would just do that. Except most of the
Sometimes,
times
dude,
when series do that, they suck.
sometimes a character can just be tape arms, okay? Sometimes that's okay.
Yeah, like if you don't do anything for 300 chapters, I don't need your entire life story in chapter
Yeah,
301. I'm fine
really
with
doesn't matter.
the tail guy can just be a tail guy. I don't need to know anything else about
Yeah,
him. He's just a dude with a tail.
maybe he'll get a backstory. He'll be like, "I grew up and I had a tail," and you know what? That'd be good enough.
He's absolutely gonna have a backstory where he grew up and he had a tail and he had like quirk inferiority, because everyone else had really awesome quirks and he just had a tail. So he learned how to do all this other stuff to make up for the fact that he only has a tail. And we're gonna have to sit through that shit for like 3 chapters,
And
and
then he's
then
gonna
there,
get a quirk
something's gonna
awakening.
happen, and they're gonna be in a situation where the only reason they could win was because he had a tail.
He'll get a quirk awakening. You know, of two tails.
He'll just turn into Tails from Sonic. He can fly. That's what they'll do.
He'll be like, "I wish I could match Deku and Shigaraki in the air," and then he's gonna get really sad, and then he's gonna flash back to his life, and then his tail will split into two, and he'll start flying.
Oh my god. I need
Horikoshi's
that
really gotta
actually.
listen to this podcast, dude. Holy shit, he's gotta start stealing ideas.
Yeah, we gotta stop Hori from listening in.
Yeah.
Oh god. But yeah, no, Undead
To
Unluck was
Undead
good.
Unluck is fine.
It's great. Yeah, I enjoy it every week. Always good. Always quality. All right, next we've got Kill Blue. It's
I don't know if
fine.
I can do this anymore, man.
Yeah, it it really is just like every week we beat the allegations, but every week we have to have new allegations, you know? It's like
Dude, you know
where
what
there's
sucks is
smoke,
last
there's
episode.
fire eventually.
Yeah, you know what sucks, dude? Last week I went on like this whole like 5 minute long tangent about how like your life isn't over by the time you're 18, and then it's gone.
Yeah, I mean that is a good tangent. You should channel that again. That was quality content right there.
Okay, the point was when you're a child, and by a child, you're still a child when you're 18. Let's be honest, okay? You're not an adult yet.
I would
As
argue you're
you're,
not an adult until you're like 22 or whenever you
I
graduate
I
college and start
I
working,
would
then
agree
you're an
with
adult.
that. Yeah, yeah. Um, and I believe I said something like your life is never gonna be together in your preteens. That's not something that you should ever hold the standard to. Your life is not going to be together when you're in high school. You should not hold yourself to that standard. Your life is not going to be together the second you turn 18 because you're still a fucking child. As much as people online want to say that they're adults when they're 18, they're not. Um, your life is not together a lot of the time, even in your early, mid, or late 20s. And a lot of people I know in my life haven't even like been on track until their 30s. And I think that was a good lesson for Ogami is that, it's never too late to find the kind of person you want to become. And you shouldn't use other people's ideas or progress as a benchmark for where you should be.
Right. Yeah. I mean, life is like not. I think that because of the way, especially with like public education, and we talked about this a little bit on the silent episode too, about how basically it's just a tool to train you to get a job. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what it's for. Um, because the way that public education works is that you're just kind of grouped into a big group of hundreds of people or whatever. You don't really have a choice but to
Yeah.
one be compared to your peers and your contemporaries, and two to kind of like they have to have a baseline of some kind, right? But that's not really how life works. Like everyone
Yeah.
goes to public school with the expectation that you get the best grades, and then you leave public school, and that automatically translates to a high-paying job, and
Yeah.
you have a happy life or whatever.
You pop out of school at 18 and then like you're married with 3 kids and a house, right?
Yeah, you pop out of school at 18, you go to college, and then at 22 you graduate, and then that degree comes with a house, a dog, a car, 2 kids, and a wife. Like that's just how life works. But like it's not really. You know, like everyone, and I like life would be boring if it was. It's the same shit as we just said about how narratives don't all work the same. Life doesn't all work.
Yeah,
If you're picking up on a theme this episode, ladies and gentlemen, it's that everything has a unique set of circumstances.
everything is way more complicated than you might think.
Yes, and no matter what, you know, educational institution tells you that, oh, this is the correct thing to do
Hmm.
objectively or whatever, like that's not always true. You know?
Hmm.
Like a big
Yeah.
thing when I was in school, because I'm older than probably everybody that listens to this, barring like a couple people, um, was like, oh, video games and stuff are like traps, and if you play those,
Hmm.
you'll ruin your life, and then you'll never do anything. And now, like some of the richest fucking people on the planet are like gamers who turn that into a career, right?
Hmm.
Like people don't know what they don't know, and I think that especially for the younger people watching this, however many of you there may be, because I'm slowly becoming convinced that our audience is all like 26 and sad. Um, not sad like pathetic, but sad like depressed.
Yeah.
Um, is like when you're younger and you look at these authority figures that you're supposed to think that they have it all put together, and they have no fucking clue, dude. They have
Yeah.
no clue because
It's
nobody has any
yeah.
clue ever.
It's a big part of or it's a big thing with social media is that people aren't gonna put out, oh, I have no fucking clue what's going on. Well, a lot of people aren't gonna put that out. A lot of people are gonna put out their best parts, right? Like a lot of people are gonna put out, oh, like this is going really well for my life. But obviously they're not gonna say, oh, I've been having trouble finding a job, or I'm having trouble finding out like who I am as a person, or I'm having trouble like I'm struggling with aspects of my identity or whatever. Like some of them might post that, but I think the vast majority of people don't really publicly post that kind of shit. So when you are trying to compare yourself to the idea of people in your life, you might be comparing it to like their highlight reel essentially.
Right.
When
And I think
obviously
that's
you don't know what
especially
else is going on.
true for like real life social media, like where you have your friends and your
Mhm.
family and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think on, air quotes, anonymous social media, stuff like Twitter, people are a little bit more willing to just talk about themselves
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
their life isn't tied to that screen, right? Um, but especially with stuff, like Instagram, Facebook, where
Mhm.
you're supposed to kind of be projecting your real who you are. Nobody's going to go on there and be like, oh, bro, I'm depressed as shit because I've been working this job for 6 months and I hate it and I don't know what to do with my
Yeah.
life anymore. Like, because you don't want, and a lot of it is like mental health stigma. Like, no
Hmm.
one ever wants to seem like they're not okay, um, because they
Hmm.
don't want other people to judge them for not being okay. No one's gonna act like they're not okay. Everyone's gonna act
Yeah.
like they've just got their shit sorted. They know exactly what's going on at all times, and everyone's just living the great life. And so you're sitting there knowing that yours isn't perfect
Hmm.
and wondering what the hell is wrong with you, when the reality is everyone's. That's everybody all the time
Yeah.
is like that.
Really, like I don't know what the demographics are for the people that watch this show. If it's anything like mine, they're probably like around 18. Um, and I think something that you really should just learn to accept is that you are still very young and it's not over.
Yeah, like it's never over, like
Yeah.
ever.
There's a
You'll
lot of
watch.
I've seen like videos and stuff of trans people who only come out like in their 50s. Like they only are just now discovering their identity. So why
Yeah,
would
which
someone have
is
it together at 18?
yeah, like, and I think it's because, at least on some level, when you're in school, I'm about to go on a completely different sort of rant,
Go
but
for
like
it.
it's it's partially capitalism's fault. Is basically what my point is.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Um,
100%.
because when you're not, you know, out on your own, which, to be fair, a lot of people are staying home longer and stuff now.
Yeah.
But when you're not out on your own, that's the time period where you're like allowed, air quotes, to experiment and like
Hmm.
wonder who you are, what you want to do, and what you want to be. Because once you reach the point of, air quotes again, adulthood, suddenly knowing what you want is directly tied to your ability to survive.
Yeah.
So you're at some point you have, like, you lose the ability to start worrying about that stuff.
Hmm.
Because who cares if you hate this job and you don't want it, because you have to have it or you'll die.
Hmm.
Like, that's the unfortunate reality of how awful the capitalistic system is that at some point your right to exist is tied to your ability to get tiny slips of paper with numbers
Yep.
on them. And so you lose the ability to start thinking that. And I think that a lot of younger people, especially, think that as soon as they reach the point where they no longer have that like aura of, I live at home, I'm just kind of living life and doing whatever. Once you become part of that like greater scope of life, you're in the workforce, you're in society as a whole. Because let's be honest, like society does not consider children people most of the time.
Yeah.
Um, Once you get there, you no longer have the luxury of like knowing that, which is crazy because like you don't know, man. Like there are people who don't come out, like you said, as trans or as
Yeah.
like LGBT plus or whatever, um, until they're well into older years. Like I probably wasn't comfortable calling myself pan until I was like in my 20s.
Hmm.
And so like at some point you just kind of like know and don't know or whatever about really anything related to your life, not just your identity, but your career, your
Yeah.
interests, your romance, like whatever it may be. It's never too late for any of those things to happen.
Yeah, it takes a long fucking time to figure some of that shit out for some people, especially when you have to work 40 hours a week to survive.
Yeah, and because like for especially for our viewers who have not done it yet,
Yeah.
after you work a 40-hour week, there are days where you're just like, I literally don't want to fucking think. I don't want a thought
Yeah.
to go through my brain.
It's
Like
genuinely like one of the most awful experiences I think you can have.
it's just awful. Even when you do something that you love, you're basically selling hours of your life to do this thing in order to live, right? Like you're selling hours of your life in order to buy the food that you
Yeah.
need to enjoy
And
the hours of your life you're not selling.
it's also 2023 and not 1923, so you're working 40 hours a week for like bare minimum survival in
Yeah,
some
you're
places
you're
in this
working
country.
40 hours a week to hopefully get by with a roommate in a decent
Yeah.
apartment, unless you get
Yeah.
like a really nice job.
Yeah.
Which is not impossible, but like also the myth of, oh, just go to college and you're set is also not true.
Not yeah, it's
Because
not as not true these days.
not true. I would argue it was never true, but it's especially untrue now because like the
Yeah.
shift from Gen X to millennials, all Gen X parents were like, well, you got to go to college. You have to. It's not
Mhm.
optional. And that was almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy because once everyone started doing it because they felt like they had no choice,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
created a labor market where now you have no choice.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of, and that's why colleges make a 11 quadrillion dollars, and then you'll pay student loans every day until you die, and that's why you see horror stories of people being like, oh, I took out my student loan and I've paid the minimum payment every month or every year or
For
whatever
300
for
years.
for for 20 years, and now I owe $2,000 more than I did when I started, like
Yeah.
because the interest is all predatory, and it's like it's so fucked, everything's so fucked all the time. And you can't fall into that trap of being like, I have to know everything by the time I'm 18, because spoiler alert, you don't know anything by the time
Yep.
you're 18. No matter what and this is, I think, honestly is true throughout every phase of your life, not just like
Yes.
childhood to adulthood, but it's especially apparent from the shift from like
Yeah.
16 to 18, and then the point when you hit like 25, that like
Yeah, those
general area.
them 21-year-olds be nodding. Yeah, they when I was 18 I didn't know anything. You don't know anything still, bro. Don't
Yeah,
worry
you
about
still don't know anything, and
it.
it's gradual because like when you graduate high school, you think you've got your life figured out, and you don't. And then you go to
Yeah.
college and you learn a lot about yourself, and then you think like, oh, well, now I've got it all figured out, and you don't. Like you don't. You really fucking don't, and you probably never will have it all figured
Yeah.
out. I can't think of anybody who just has everything figured out. Like the best,
Besides me, yeah, it's true.
yeah, other than Asa, who's got everything on lock all the time.
Yeah.
Nobody else, like, you can't have it all figured out because the stuff and the things that you believe right now may not be the things that you believe in 3 years from now. And that doesn't
Mhm.
make it wrong that you believe them now. It's not like you're steadily growing toward like the correct answers. And if you find them earlier, you get to be right longer or whatever. It's
Yeah.
just that like life changes, man. You grow. You learn things about yourself as you go that may not have always been true. Like
Mhm.
sometimes people don't identify certain ways when they're younger, and then as they grow up and start kind of flirting with the idea, it starts feeling right. Like it's not as simple as there's a checklist of correct facts about you and you just have to
Mhm.
find them as quickly as you can. This is a really long, deep conversation to spawn from a Kill Blue chapter where a girl gets kitty ears when she naps. Like,
Yeah, it's never beat. I don't know. I don't know if he's ever beaten the allegations.
bro. Yeah, back to the subject. Um, I'm glad that we always beat the allegations, but I'm really tired of every chapter creating new allegations.
We
And
really did
now we're
not need
getting a
this shit,
beach
man.
chapter, um, which
Oh
is usually
god,
bad. Yeah, did you not notice that?
I did. I just didn't want to think about it or confront it.
Yeah, we're rolling into it. And then there's going to be a surfing contest, which
Yeah,
the allegations are not going to be great there either. It's a mess, man. It's a real mess.
we are in a dark time
Yeah,
in history, in human
yeah.
history.
Thankfully, the goat is here to help. The next one we're going to talk about is Kagurabachi.
Oh, thank God. Finally, some good fucking food, man.
Dude, this chapter banged. It was so good.
Yeah. Um, I talked 3 chapters ago. I was talking about how it's kind of cool how the villain just doesn't like give him time to train or prepare. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go kill him. We talked about how Kagurabachi has a Twitter account now, and they're tweeting. There was a tweet referencing the English-speaking fans in English, so they're definitely aware.
That yeah, it's
It
very
also,
popular
yeah,
in
it also
English.
got
Yeah.
it also got 12,000 followers in 2 days, which I feel like is quite exceptional. If you look at other, I think like Mama Yu and stuff don't even come close or something like that. Um, and then they started battling over the reasons weapons were invented, which is raw as fuck.
Yes.
And then this chapter was very good. Um, I do think that this chapter is probably the biggest for Chihiro as a character so far, because when push came to shove, he abandoned the hyperfixation on his father's sword to go save Char.
Yes. Which again, I feel like we're consistently led to not look at him as the edge lord weirdo that everyone kind of labeled
Yeah,
him as in chapter one.
yeah, very good stuff there. I mean, it was raw as hell. Um, the look of Chihiro, like his aura when he has Nishiki or whatever, that is fucking raw.
Yes, the like stuff kind of coming off of his jacket,
Yeah,
like he's fucking fading into the air.
yeah, that
Super
was so
cool.
cool. He just looks
The
raw, dude.
sequence where he cuts the dude's head off in the car to
Yeah,
save Char, and it's just her severed leg.
that's
Um,
brutal, man.
yes, one, extremely brutal. Two, the flow of sequencing right here is so good.
Yeah.
The bit where he like sees the leg that he's reaching out to grab and realizes that it's just her leg, and then we
Hmm.
get like the smeared speed line of his
Yeah.
eye looking in the direct like of the page turn, and then he immediately grabs the dude and yanks him out of the front of the
Yeah.
car to that still image of the car flipping behind
Oh,
him.
he looks so
It's
sick.
so good. I love the muted killing of that guy, where
Yeah.
he's got him on the ground and he executes him, but he doesn't even really focus on it because what you're looking at
Yeah.
is the burning car, and you just have the tiny little bit where it shows him slashing his throat.
Yeah.
Super cool framing. Super fucked up that they just cut both of this little girl's legs off as a
I know, man.
distraction.
I know we were worried initially about like the little girl retrieval arc, but I think it's been earned at this point.
Yeah, I mean we're rolling into the little girl retrieval arc here, but I think that like she's only part of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
And my worry with the little girl retrieval arc was
There's a
that
lot. Yeah. There's
it
more
it,
going on.
it was gonna inevitably just be, uh-oh, the girl is in distress and we have to go save her because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
But
but now
like,
there's some beef between him and
yes,
Sojo, right?
the fight between him and the bad guy like totally changed the focus of it. Like,
Mhm.
yes, they still have to go save the girl, but I'm here like the fucking menace between these two. And the whole bit about him telling Chihiro like, "Oh, you don't know anything about your father," not
Yeah,
knowing that it's his father. Um, it's such a good dynamic, and oh man, I'm so here for it. I'm so here for it.
dude. Chihiro's just been fighting for like 10 chapters, and now we were talking about like when's he gonna be spent. Well, here we go. He's fucking done
Yeah,
now
he's
for sure.
fucking done. He can barely talk. He can barely stand.
His
Like,
eyes are completely whited out in page
yep,
17.
the man is done. Like, even on the last page when his buddy is holding him up, like
Yeah,
he can barely like his eyes are barely there. The dude's about to black out, like which I like, because we were talking a little bit
yeah.
about how with him having like the super special sword, you run the risk of him
I also
being
think
too
it's
much.
interesting. Yeah, I think it's interesting that Sojo is like five of them in all Elite Force. If it was just these guys, I'd fight, but those two are a problem. And he looks to like um that one dude and his friend and Chihiro's friend, I forget his name.
Yeah, the teleporter.
Those two are the problem. Yeah,
hmm
I guess the teleportation shit's probably broken, huh?
I mean, I would imagine it is.
Yeah,
Like it would have to be. And then the other guy being the team captain dude from like the
yeah,
last, yeah. Um, Also the sword, the sword on sword fights, fucking cool, really
yeah.
cool. All like Cloud Gouger's abilities are super cool visually.
Dude, page 6 is really fucking cool, man.
Page 6. Yes, yes, it
It's
is.
so
It's
cool, man.
so good looking. Just the spread of the two swords right next to each other's faces. It's fucking awesome,
Oh,
dude.
this manga, fuck.
Yeah, dude. It's like, oh man, I'm so glad that it turned out to have fucking aura and like potential.
Substance.
Yeah, just being something sick. Oh man, I'm so
Yeah,
excited to see more of it.
I can't wait. It's gonna be so good.
Which I guess is a good time to roll into the first off the topic conversation we're gonna have.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is the movement online to try to say that Kagurabachi has fallen off and is no longer popular because it was all just fake hype.
Kagurabachi is still number 5 on Manga Plus
Yeah, which they
with
were
10 chapters.
using as an insult. It
It
was
has 10
number two,
chapters.
now it's number five. Fallen off garbage series.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, the top five right now are One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, Boruto, and Kagurabachi.
You
Um,
know, just some of the biggest manga in the world.
the biggest
It's fine.
manga, yeah, all over the place. Like, and then ignoring that too, only three of those five run in the weekly magazine because Chainsaw Man and
Yeah,
Boruto do not.
yeah,
So that would make Kagurabachi the number three most popular thing in the West running in the magazine still, because
yeah.
this is lower, remember, than it's been for weeks now.
It was almost about to overtake JJK for a while.
It did overtake JJK for like a week, didn't it?
I don't remember.
Because I
It's been a
remember there
while.
was a little bit of time where both of us were like, it would be amazing and hilarious if this beat One Piece. It didn't. I don't think it ever got to that
That was
point.
a
But
pipe
but
dream.
it
No,
did
no, it
pass
didn't get
Jujutsu
close.
Kaisen for like a week, which it's fine. So like yeah, the memes definitely helped like get people to read
Yeah,
it at
obviously.
first. Yeah, which is normal. And then also when a series first starts, that's you're going to get people who are, if they're interested, they're going to check it out, and if they lose interest, they're going to stop.
Yeah,
So
it's
again,
been 10 weeks.
yeah,
I think it's safe to say that the memes are not majority carrying the series anymore.
yeah, no, not a chance. And it's crazy to look at it and be like, this fell off. This is the when it's more popular than My Hero in the West. It has been every week. Which like I mean I guess you can say well no it's not because it's really not. But it on as
On
far
Manga
as
Plus, at
reading
least.
on Manga Plus, as far as the number of people reading the chapters, it's been beating My Hero Academia every week for like weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
And it's 10 chapters old. And we're gonna get people being like, well, My Hero has yada yada XYZ anime. And like, I'm not suggesting that it's a more popular franchise
It's
than My
definitely
Hero
not.
Academia.
It's
Obviously,
definitely
it's
not.
not. I'm just saying that in terms of people who are reading the chapters on Manga Plus, more people are reading this than are reading a massive household name
Yeah.
series on chapter 10. So like that there's no way to slice it to say that it's not doing well in the West right now. I've seen people say that it's not popular in Japan. I won't speak to that because I don't know. Um,
I don't think it's entirely true. I think it's doing like probably okay in Japan.
yeah, I mean, I remember you said that you know someone who said that basically like the TOC placement for Kagurabachi is like average. It's not amazing, but it's not particularly bad either. It's just like it
Yeah.
is normal
Yeah.
for a series of this age, which is
Yeah.
fine. Like again, all we want to do is not get canceled,
All we
right?
need
Like
is average.
yeah, we're not out here to be the next generational, we're not looking to be the next Naruto. We're just trying not to get canceled. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. It's just crazy to me to try and paint this agenda of like, oh, this series has no hype. It's dead. It's washed, and it's like the only
If
thing every week that gets more readers is One Piece and
if
Jujutsu
if
Kaisen.
we are picking series that are getting axed from this bunch, it's not Kagurabachi. It's maybe Mama Yu and Two and Ice.
Two on Ice, I feel like is inevitably the first one to go.
Yeah. I have heard
Apparently
that
Mama
Mama
Yu Yu
Yu
is
is
not
not
doing
doing
great
great.
either.
Yeah.
Um, so it may be counting its lucky stars that it debuted in a batch that has 2 on Ice in it. Um, but yeah, it doesn't seem to be doing super great.
Yeah.
But Kagurabachi is definitely I can't even see a world where it's under threat right now, really.
Yeah. We can worry about it maybe after Mama Yu goes or
Yeah,
Two
if
on Ice
if
goes.
if 2 on Ice and Mama Yu both go, then I'll be like, oh shit.
I
Like,
remember, I remember, I remember someone saying that the manga usually get axed in the order of release. I don't know if that's true, but I think someone said that in our
well,
comments once.
yes and no, because it's like a time frame thing. So like for example, like Icehead Gill may not have been doing worse than like 2 on Ice, but it had been
Yeah,
out long enough for them to say that it's
yeah,
not a worthwhile investment to continue it.
yeah. I think they mostly meant like in batches
Yes,
because
that's that.
it
Yeah,
was back when we were talking about Fabricate and Tenmaku.
yeah,
So out of the batch of Kagurabachi, Mama Yu, and Two on Ice, Kagurabachi would be up first. I don't think it's getting axed, so we can probably skip that one. Mama Yu might get axed first if that information is true.
yeah. I just don't see any world where Kagurabachi is currently in danger in any
I know there will
capacity,
be
or even really that it's fallen off. It's still doing crazy numbers.
yeah, there will be quite a few Mama Yu heads that will be very upset soon. I think. I don't think it's going to survive, unfortunately.
I again, I think because it also debuted with 2 on Ice, um,
Mhm.
that may save it on that merit alone because they might not be in a situation where they want to cancel 2.
Mhm.
And I don't see any world where 2 on Ice outlives either of its 2 classmates, I guess you could say. Um, but I know that everything I've read basically has said that it's not doing well, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, Kagurabachi's doing fine.
Yeah, I have nothing but faith
That's
in
the moral of the story.
Kagurabachi right now. I, the numbers are good, the content is good, it's just good stuff.
Yeah,
It's good manga.
yeah,
All
it is.
right, let's jump ahead. Let's
Let's talk
jump
about
ahead and talk to
incest.
what's that?
Let's talk about incest.
Yeah, okay, we can do that one next. Um,
You
oh
guys are fucking
Jesus,
crazy, man.
you
You guys
guys
are
are like
insane.
gross weirdos, man. I don't know what else to say it. So like I don't know. I have not been up on it, so I just kind of got on it today. Apparently, it's been a fight that's been going on for a few days.
It has been. It has been. I saw
Yeah,
it 2 days ago, and I was like, "Oh, that's stupid," and then I just ignored it. And then I saw it all over the place yesterday. I was like, "Oh, that's stupid."
yeah. And it cuts back to what we were saying earlier about how it feels like the manga fans can't help but make everything sexual. And then
Yeah,
I think they also think that inherently making it sexual makes it darker and like cooler
yeah,
and
that's
like
just weird,
it's
man.
so weird. So for those of you that don't know, this we're about to get demonetized if we haven't been already. The current discourse is about incest between All for One and whatever his dumb fuck brother's
Yoichi.
name is, um, which is crazy in
It's
every way.
there are not just zero, but I would say negative incestuous undertones in that plot
Um,
line.
it there's literally a text box in the chapter that is the narrator. This is not a character. This is the omniscient series narrator saying that All for One views everyone around him as his property. He doesn't view humans as people. He views them as things that he owns. Um, that
Yes.
alone is dark and fucked up enough, right? Like you don't need to mature that up as a thing. Being like sociopathic enough to not view humans as people is plenty dark for
Yeah.
whatever weird I read mature comic books only jack off shit you're trying to do right now.
the
Um,
the counter narrative is, oh, but we meant emotional incest. That is not what that means in the
yes,
slightest.
not what that means. I've seen a bunch of people try to argue that it is what it means. It's not what it means. There is such a thing as emotional incest. What emotional
Yes.
incest is a the parental figure of a relationship that has to be an adult. We have to specify this as
Yes.
well. It has
The
to be
power
an
dynamic
adult.
must yes, there must be a power dynamic.
The power dynamic must be adult to child specifically. Um, Treats the child in a way that relies on them for emotional needs. Basically, like treats them in a way that requires the child to bear emotions that an adult should be handling.
Yes.
Um,
And the concept of calling it emotional incest is, I'm pretty sure, something that is not I think it's something that people have been discussing for quite some time because they don't think it's an apt label
It's
for
not
it.
a good term. Yeah. Because also it's worth pointing out here that emotional incest is not necessarily even always considered like abusive. It it's kind of just an interaction that happens. Sometimes it can be. Like let me make that very clear. When it gets extreme, it can very much be abusive. But emotional incest, air quotes, can literally just be like your mom had a really shitty day at work and came home and didn't have anyone else to talk to, so she cried on your shoulder and you're like 9. Like that counts. That is emotional incest is that. It's not like creepy possessive like you're my family
I'm
like
I'm not a psychologist. What I could definitely say is that what All for One is doing is not emotional incest. What the fuck? What
no.
the fuck are you talking about?
No.
Like what the
It
fuck?
might be emotionally abusive. Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Totally. Um is it emotional incest? By definition, no, it's not. And again, emotional incest not a particularly dark topic. So, I feel like the reason that people are using it is because they want the edgy word in the argument they're trying to make. Um, because again, I haven't seen anyone successfully actually argue that it could even remotely possibly be emotional incest. So I think they're just
What
looking at this and they're like, this is a creepy way to treat another person, and I want to use a mature, spooky word when I talk
what's
on the internet.
what's crazy to me is that the fucking like one of the biggest MHA accounts, the leaker, also Hirukasu, because I know you watch Shonen Show. How you doing? Also went out and tweeted like making fun of people for saying that's weird by saying, "Hey guy, AFO and Yoichi have a weird relationship, right? Maybe we should start a conversation about incest and how their fucked up dynamic reflects some dark themes that happen in other works of fiction and even real life. Are you saying you ship these two? You're weird." Like that is not the argument. That is not the argument at all.
No, it's not. Like I've seen some people say that the leaker is where this started from. Again, I don't know. Um,
No, it's not. Well, I mean, Rukasu tweeting about it is probably what made it a bigger topic, but I definitely saw it before Rukasu talked about it.
okay. Also, the leaker did reply to me directly
I
about it
saw
and
that,
was
yeah.
pretty balanced about it.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't think Rukasu's dumb or anything, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was nothing in their reply that was particularly egregious in terms of like, because when I say egregious, I'm talking like I've had people in my mentions for like 12 hours posting screenshots of him like stroking Shigaraki's neck on a TV screen and being like, this is clear evidence he's a rapist. And it's like, dude, what is with you people and needing to have
hmm
everything be like sexually uncomfortable?
hmm
And because again, this flashes me back to the Midnight stuff where Midnight was killed and everyone
Oh
was
my
like,
god, I
"Oh,
forgot about
she
that.
was sexually assaulted before
That
she
was
died." And it's like, "No,
that
she
was
was not."
great.
Absolutely deranged. Yeah, like no, she wasn't. And it's weird that you feel like she has to be because it has to like you need like sexual violence to lend credibility to your
It's
fucking superhero
everywhere,
teenager
dude.
series.
It's literally
It's
everywhere. I don't
so weird.
understand.
And like I brought it up because I was talking to Pineapple about it today on the title.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
saw
like a
you
private,
guys, yeah.
yeah. Um, and someone replied with like, "Well, the Midnight stuff has bearing because you have to remember these are bad people. Not all bad people are rapists, dog. Like this. What are you talking about? Your evidence for this being a thing is because she got killed by bad guy. Murder is also bad, actually. Like,
There is absolutely zero reason for someone to infer that she was raped before she got killed, and I think if
absolutely
you say
zero reason.
that, either like you need I think if you unironically post that shit online, please crank one out before posting online. It's just unhealthy for you to be
It's
online before you squeeze your hog, dude.
so weird. Like there's no way to slice it that's not weird. And I've seen some
Yeah.
people defending the incest stuff specifically with like, well, why can't people just interpret it the way that they want to? And on some level, I agree with that.
Yes,
That you
yes.
as a reader have the right to interpret a work of fiction in whatever way that you choose.
I completely agree, but there has to be grounding for it. There has to be reasoning
One, there
for it.
has to if you want people to agree with you, you have to have some measure of grounding for it.
Yes.
And two, once you present a subject to the world,
That's
people
true
are
too, yeah.
allowed to judge the things that you say, right?
This is social media. Like you're posting it
Yes,
online for everyone to read. If you
you
don't want them to
you
read
are
it,
making the
go private.
choice to post it on the internet for other people to look at and discuss. That is a
Yes.
decision that you made. So at
It's not
this
your
point,
Facebook.
yes, At this point, it is no longer your personal private interpretation. It is an
Hmm.
argument that you are making to the world, whether or
I
not you
completely
want it
agree.
to
Yeah.
be. Because I've
Yes.
definitely posted stuff on the internet and been like, this is a thing I think. And I've had to listen to fuckers reply to me for 6 weeks about it that I just don't care about. Like that's just part of the internet. But
Yeah.
the connotation of making their relationship is not good. Like no one's arguing it's good or like
No,
healthy
no,
or
it's pretty
normal.
bad.
It's fucked up. It's weird and fucked up and bad. But
It's suboptimal.
intentionally taking it suboptimal. Yeah, it's not great. Um, intentionally taking it to a place where you're invoking like sex crime again, because this is not the first time MHA fanbase has done that.
Yeah.
Um, I don't understand what conclusion you're expecting people to reach otherwise, right? Like
Yeah.
what do you think they're gonna think about that?
Basically, the moral of the story is you are able to interpret whatever you would like. Um, However, if you're going to put it out there, you should be able to substantiate that interpretation. And
Yes. If you're going
if you
to insist
can't,
that the interpretation is legitimate and valid, you should have something backing it up. Like I
yeah.
think the a good example of this is the stuff from Across the Spider-Verse with people saying that their headcanon was that
Oh,
Gwen was a trans
yeah,
character
yeah, I've seen that.
because of how the lighting was used in her like presentation, where it uses like the trans flag colors
Mhm,
in areas where she's specifically struggling with her identity. That I think is a
mhm.
perfectly fine way to be like, this is what I think. Is it
And
canonical?
yeah,
I don't know. I don't care. But this is what I think and why I think it. That's I think
I,
pretty good.
I I joke about it a lot, like the Buddhist thread about why this is like the Buddhist undertones or whatever. I make jokes about that a lot, but if you could back it up, then it's a valid interpretation. It's fine.
Yes, and I also think you're allowed to have invalid interpretations. I also because
Oh yeah, yeah.
frankly, I don't care that much at the end of the day what you think about a series
Mhm.
because I only what I think is right, and if you don't agree with me, I don't care what you think,
Well,
basically.
only what I think is right, but it's fine. Keep on.
But like when when you're making a claim that is pretty much unsubstantiated other than the brother is possessive, which there's a million and a half ways to work possessiveness in that don't have to be sexual. That's the only evidence that you have, and then you're pushing that evidence further with like it has to be this specific horrible awful crime. Like it can't be anything else. It has to be the worst awful version of it. Obviously, people are going to look at you and be like, "You're kind of a fucked up little weirdo, bro." Like, I don't know what
What
you want them
makes
to
it
say.
what makes it even weirder is that like they're getting mad at people for disagreeing with their interpretation, which that's what social media is for. It's for discussing your interpretations of things sometimes. Um, and then instead of going, okay, maybe that was a bad call, they go on to like post hoc justify it by bringing up emotional incest, which they don't know what that
They don't know
means.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think my comment on it was this entire argument feels like people trying to teach classes on terms that they Googled yesterday.
Yes, literally.
Um, because they obviously don't know what it is, which is fine. And one person defending it said to me, "Who cares if someone uses the wrong term?" Well, then what's
Then
everyone?
don't,
Because that's
then
what
don't
words
use the
are.
term.
That's what language is. Um, so when you're using the phrase emotional incest, which is a real thing, I almost think that the first person to use that phrase didn't know it was a real thing because the way it's being used, and it's not like a common enough thing that I feel like everyone should know that. Like most people
Yeah,
know
it's
it
not.
exists, but they probably don't call it by that term. Like I think the term they're probably
Yeah,
looking for is codependency,
yeah.
and that's probably closer to what they're thinking. But I think the first person to use it probably didn't know that it was a real thing, and so they were just saying like, "Hey, I get weird incesty vibes, but not physical."
I
Like
get
like
what you mean.
they
Yeah, like
they were
emotional
trying to
incest. Yeah,
use it
yeah, I
as an
get it.
example to say I don't mean that they're fucking. I just mean they have a relationship that feels like that, like to
Yeah, I
me
get
when
what
I
you
read
mean.
it.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have a bunch of fucking brainlet idiots that are like, "That's a neat phrase. I'm gonna now say that a bunch of
Google's.
times." Um, and they'll just like parrot it, and then you'll show them like, "Hey, that's a real thing, and it's defined right here as not what you're saying." And then they're like, "Okay, well, it's still creepy though." And I'm like, well, yeah, but that doesn't make
Yeah.
it this thing you're saying. And it just comes off like the refusal to back down off of the phrase incest specifically
Hmm.
feels like such a weird need for it to be like this thing that you think makes it dark and mature because of it. When the
Exactly.
reality of it is, one, emotional incest not that dark, less dark than the actual backstory on the page, for to be frank. Two, like why do you need it to be that way? What legitimacy do you gain from inserting as much weird extra shit in that you possibly can? Like My Hero is dark enough on as it is. Like
It's actually a very dark series. I mean, they
it like
tortured a child and they tortured Eri like a
yeah,
long
they
time ago.
tortured Eri all the time. Like Eri has, in my opinion, like the grossest backstory of anybody
Yeah,
in this series by a mile, including with this new AFO stuff included. Ares is still worse.
Ares is
Um,
really fucked up, man.
Ares is fucked up like big
They
time.
were literally blowing her to pieces and then like putting her back
And
together
then yeah,
over and over again.
recombining her body
Yeah,
to use her fucking yeah, it's fucked up in so many levels.
and she killed her dad by accident.
Yes, but like she feticized her parents. Super fucked up on like every
Yeah.
level. And you know, also the metaphor there with her and Overhaul was obviously like an abusive parent, and that
Hmm.
she was trying to run away from an abusive parent, and the system failed to get her out of there. Totally fine
Yeah, she
interpretation.
yeah, the system was like it's also very similar to Shigaraki's backstory in the fact, she accidentally blew up her parents and then
Yeah,
she also got taken in by somebody who fucking sucks and abused her.
yeah. Um, and you know that kind of thing happens. But there's so many things on the page to support that interpretation. He is her
Yes.
adult caregiver that treats her like shit, physically abuses her for her abilities. That's on the page. You have evidence right there to back that up. It
Mhm.
exists. Whether it was an intentional allegory to the system failing children who are abused very often, because it is pretty rare for the system
I
to
would have
actually
yeah.
succeed, I
I
don't
would have
know.
said it was intentional 3 years ago, but nowadays I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah,
you're meant to
well,
do that shit.
exactly, right? Like after the racism subplot, I don't know if anything can be trusted.
Yeah.
But whether or not it was intentional, it doesn't matter because it's an interpretation that's easily supported by the actual words on the page. This interpretation is just he's very possessive of his brother, and I'm inserting my Coomhammer brain over top of that.
Yeah.
And the only thought that I can come to that a human being might be possessive of another human being is for sexual purposes.
The moral of the story is MHA fans, shut the fuck up.
Please just shut up. Just stop talking about stuff. Like, I don't know what else to say. Just stop talking about your own shit, right? Like, just, I don't know what to tell you. Go back to being like, Bakugo's cute when he smiles. Like, just say that more.
Yeah, yeah, go
Because,
back to that shit, please.
just please.
So much
I can't
simpler.
take any more of this, man.
Don't go back
It's,
far enough though. Don't go back far enough though to when the hive leader of the Bakudeku's was saying that Ochako and Toga were both traumatized by colored people. Don't go back that far though.
whoa, what? Whoa, whoa,
you haven't
whoa,
heard
whoa.
you haven't heard that?
No, what the fuck?
Dude, that was so funny. So the hive leader of Bakudeku's, so Toga and Curious is blue. And then she also believes that Ochako was traumatized by Mina forcing the idea of Deku and Ochako being together on her. So then she said that they paralleled each other because they were both traumatized by colored people. And that tweet did not stay for very long.
I can only imagine that tweet did not last very long.
That shit.
It's really funny to use the phrase colored people to specifically refer to like pastel pink. Oh my god, bro.
That's such a
What the
fucking insane tweet.
fuck? Although if it's the person I'm thinking of, I feel like that person's consistently insane. So,
Yeah, yeah, they are.
you know, at least that's like a thing. Like after a while, you kind of
Yeah.
build like a brand online. Like
A
no matter
brand of
what whether you're
insanity.
trying to, your online presence builds a perception in people's minds once you become
Yeah,
relevant enough to be remembered. Um, and I feel like that person's perception is just like kind of crazy.
yeah.
Which is fine. You're allowed to be crazy. Like, you
More
get,
power to you.
yeah, you're allowed to be nuts, but just like that's their brand is being nuts, and that's you do you, I guess. But if everybody else could stop being nuts every time something is vaguely uncomfortable, that would be amazing.
Yeah, the rest of you gotta shut the fuck up.
Yeah, please shut the fuck up. Just be quiet. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. You say the dumbest shit all the time, and then you're like, well, it's valid, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. Shut the fuck up. I don't care. Like, the comments on this episode, by the way, are gonna be a shit show.
My rocket launcher blowing up your router so you no longer have internet access is also valid.
Yeah, like, dude, I'm gonna fucking go to everyone's house and cut their internet cables from the outside so you can't fucking talk anymore. Just, oh my god, it's just.
Listen, everyone leaving comments right now, I have one thing to say. I will not be reading them, so it's okay.
Yeah, dude. Oh, the comments are gonna be just. Oh, I might,
I'm
I
gonna be
might get
completely
a
honest
mod
with
from the
you.
Discord to read the comments, so I don't have to.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I stopped reading the comments like 4 or 5 episodes ago.
I read them sometimes because I find them funny because it's the same stuff every time.
It's
Not
the same
just
people
it's the same
malding about the
people.
same shit every week.
Yeah, it is. But I don't just mean the people who are like, this chapter of this series was good. Like I
Oh no no
appreciate
no,
that meme.
those are funny. Yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah, but also like it's the same people being like, no surprise, they fucked up the My Hero segment, and actually it's this, and it's like a 10 reply thread to themselves about like that's actually this, and I'm like, man, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. More power to you to say it. Please keep saying it. I'm not gonna. I've never replied to any of them that are like that. Basically, anytime a comment starts out with saying that we were wrong about something, I just immediately I'm done. Um, this is not a
I
show
mean,
for the facts, y'all. This is our
it
feelings.
depends. Like, if it, I'm not gonna lie. If it's talking about something, if they say I got something wrong about MHA, I just don't believe them. If it's about something else, I listen to it usually
Well,
though.
if it's also if it's like factual information, like if we
Yeah,
say
factual
someone's
stuff. Like,
name
yeah,
wrong, or like we forget a character and someone corrects us, that's fine. Even if you do it in a shitty way, if you're like, you fucking idiots, this character was in chapter or whatever, that's fine.
like the
But
people who leave information about stuff about how Weekly Shonen Jump works. Those are always useful.
yes, those are amazing. Those are great. Because I don't know how Weekly Shonen Jump works
Yeah.
in depth, right? I'm just talking about if I like the pretty pictures. Um, but the threads that are like, this is my interpretation of this scene, you
Hmm.
fuckers, and your disagreement with it ruins my perception of reality. I'm like, all right, I'm just tuning that out, man. I'm
I
just tuning
I
it out.
have spent I have spent the better part of 3 years writing about and talking about MHA. If someone says I'm wrong about MHA, no, I'm not. Everything else though, yeah, that's fair game though. I don't know the rest of the series like I do that series, so that might be fair.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. But it's just like, the comments are not. I don't think anyone thinks YouTube comments are a particularly enjoyable place to be. But
My
I
comments
I
are great.
won't be reading them on the week where we talk about the incest subplot because the usual suspects are probably going to have a lot to say, uh, and I don't want to read it
Yeah.
about this particular topic. All right, so the last thing I have on the itinerary for the special fuck around episode um, is revisiting Gojo versus Sukuna, and if we still think it was bad, because now that enough
Yeah.
time has passed, everyone is claiming that it was very obvious from the beginning that Sukuna had Gojo in the palm of his hand, and he was a genius, criminal
So
genius.
I left a reply on your tweet actually. I said we've seen what it's like when Sukuna has somebody on the palm of their head. That's the Jogo fight. And someone
Yes,
was like, "Well, Gojo isn't Jogo's." Yeah, no shit. That's not the point.
obviously. That's why, like, it's not like.
Yeah. That's yeah. The point is, we know what it's like when Sukuna has someone in the palm of his hand because it's cool as fuck,
Yes, it's
right? Like,
extremely raw. Yeah.
yeah,
Um.
that getting taking a nap in the middle of the fight because you got hit so hard. That's not having the fight in the palm of your hand.
No,
Getting brain damage
it's.
is not
Yeah,
getting brain
getting
damage is not
permanent
having the
brain
fight in the
damage
palm
is
of your hand.
not the same thing.
Um, Bleeding out of your eyes for fun. That's not having the fight in the palm of your hand.
Yeah,
Having to
fighting a
call out Mahoraga to
1v3.
save you.
Yeah, fighting a 1v3, getting one of your both of the other guys on your team absolutely waxed.
Yeah.
And the argument constantly is, well, Sukuna was holding back because if he could have gone true mode and killed him, which maybe, I don't know, maybe.
I
But
mean, okay, let's think about it. It is explicitly true that Sukuna was holding back to an extent because he knew that there was a possible situation where he kills Gojo and then he gets jumped by everyone else, right?
right, so
So, like,
I think holding back is doing a lot of work here
yes, yes, it is.
because the implication that people are saying that he held back is that he simply wasn't putting forth effort,
Exactly. Yes,
which is a
I think he was
crazy
holding
thing to
back.
think.
I think he was holding back. The fight was not in the palm of his hand.
Correct. So I think that the true form thing is what they're talking about when they're talking about holding back is the transformation. Um,
I'm not. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I don't know because he just sort of did it, and I don't know. I don't know.
yeah, it was never explained like how he did it. He just did it.
He
Because I
just sort
remember
of
the
did it, and then
longest
that was it.
time the theory for why he wanted Megami was to get his body back, but apparently he could just do it whenever he wanted and just didn't. Um, which fine, I guess.
Yeah.
But like as far as I'm aware, that is the holding back that they're referring to. I've seen
Yeah.
arguments that he could have done his domain expansion and then used the fire arrow, and the fire arrow is stronger, and that would have killed him when it. But like Gojo's infinitely stronger than Maharaga, as we've seen, like repeatedly. Um, so I don't know that that's a particularly good answer either. Maybe it would have, but the best answer that I've seen is that he was holding back the transformation because he needed to try to beat Gojo without using it so that he had the ability to restore himself when
Yeah.
everyone else showed up.
That,
So
yeah, that's fair.
could he have transformed and beaten Gojo and then been beat to shit when everyone else jumped him and lost? Like that I think is valid.
Yeah,
Like
that's totally fair. I,
ignoring the fact that Kashimo got washed in one chapter, he was winning against hurt Sukuna before that's why he recovered to begin with. He was winning that fight. Um, and so I think it's totally valid to say like yes, he was holding back this ability because he needed it after he won the fight to make sure that he didn't just get jumped and destroyed because he was hurt. Totally valid. But that
yeah,
does not translate to like, oh, he just was fucking around. He was being a
there
silly little
was
guy.
no shot he was fucking around, dude.
No.
Not even. I don't believe there's. I don't
People
think
who
there's
are
anything that
fucking
people can say.
around do not experience fear for the first time in 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Like,
Um. And I think a lot of people intentionally misrepresent our argument for why the fight sucked because it makes it
yes.
easier to take down.
Yeah,
Because that's not
it's
what
sort
we're
of like sorting
saying.
it into a box because you don't have to
Yeah.
address the points if you try to devalue the source.
A big part of the reason I think the fight sucks is because Gojo as a character flopped.
Yes, that's my big issue too, because I see a lot of people like, oh, Cope, you thought Gojo was going to win. Of course he wasn't going to win. It was impossible for him to win because he's fighting the fucking villain. So unless the series was just going to end, of course he can't win. No one
That's
is
a, yeah,
arguing that he should win.
that's another misrepresentation of the argument to make it easier to take down. Oh, you think Gojo's going to win? That doesn't matter to the
It
argument at
no.
all.
My argument for why it sucked is that regardless of what I've also seen people trying to act like Gojo had no character, which is untrue. Um,
That is so fucking
it's
wrong. What
it's
the fuck? What was hidden
insanely
inventory
untrue.
is right there. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's insanely untrue to say that he has no character. He clearly has motivations and beliefs that stem from a source that we see on screen. The
Yeah.
loss of Geto, the fact that him and Geto basically flipped in their thinking, um, is evidence enough that he has a character and motivations. Um, and then they sealed him away because they had to because he was too strong, which is fine. I think that's totally fine. Because a problem with a story that has a character that is, the strongest is that that character will inevitably reach a point in which they impede progression of the story. They have to be removed.
Hmm.
Look at All Might. Like
Yes.
All Might existing made it impossible for the bad guys to win. Like the USJ thing
Yeah.
where they
And
show
I
up and
think
they're fucking up everybody and they're winning,
yeah.
and then All Might
And then
walks
all
in
my
and they're like,
shows
oh
up.
fuck, we lose immediately. Like,
Yeah. And I think Kamino was a really great answer to that problem. And I would have personally preferred it if Gojo lost, but like didn't die because he has a character still that could have been, I don't know,
or
used.
if you're gonna kill him, which I think it's fine to kill him,
Or
don't
just have,
set
yeah,
don't
don't
set
time
the
skip.
fight a month and a half and then skip to the fight.
Yeah.
Give
Either
us
or
the
is fine.
month and do the character work in that time, and then have him die. Also fine, completely fine. It's not about him living or dying. It's about the fact that the character just wasn't utilized anymore. And
I
then for
also
them to
have
like go
yeah,
on to the point where he is killed and he's just like, Sukuna is so fucking cool. What a badass. Like, whatever,
yeah.
I'm dead now. Like, what are you talking about? Not
I
even him
also have
giving respect to Sukuna
yeah.
isn't the problem. But this is like all of your students that you got so mad when Yuji died that you were about to commit like jujutsu genocide. Like,
Hmm.
and now you're like, I'm dead. whatever.
I also have a specific response to a specific response to us, or like this criticism in general is like, oh, people are mad that Gojo died, and they say that he should have just stayed in the box if he was just gonna die. Well, then they would have been complaining if he was still in the box. And my response is saying that people are going to complain about something is not a response to criticism
Yeah, creating a
because
fake reality in which
yeah,
people complain because you said that they are is not the same thing as
yeah,
addressing
that's
their concerns.
yes. Would I have complained if Gojo was still in the box? I don't fucking know. I couldn't tell you. I live in this reality where Gojo got out of the box and died like
And then
fucking
died
13 seconds later.
instantly and did nothing of value
Yeah.
other than because like a lot of people are like, well, his value. It reminded me of Star and Stripe because people are like, well, his value
Oh
was
no.
was removing Maharaga because now Maharaga's dead. Um, who cares about that though? Because not only was Maharaga not like a problem that the heroes were like fighting and losing
Until
to
like yeah, until just now.
until just now. Yeah, he only used it in one other fight, and that was against fucking Megumi's sister. Uh, just because he wanted to see what it could do, which is
If
like
yes. So if we wanted to remove Maharaga from the equation, we could have just not had Megumi get body jacked to begin with.
yes, or like if Gojo removing Maharaga was the reason why he fought and came back was because he was the one that was going to kill Maharaga, and then a debilitated Sukuna would be impacted by his death.
Mhm.
Don't make him infinitely stronger 2 chapters later when he restores his true form and washes
Yeah.
Kashimo in 2 seconds without Maharaga. So like no world does it's the same argument as like, oh, Star and Stripe took away the quirks, but like no she didn't because they
The
completely
quirks didn't exist.
yeah, that didn't happen. So like it's just like what was his value to
What does he
returning to the
even do?
story now? What was the purpose of if he stayed in the box? Would people complain he was still in the box? I don't know. I don't think so because I frankly didn't see a whole lot of like when is Gojo getting out of the box? I'm so pissed off. The story sucks because he's still in the box. Like I
Saw
saw
people
people
just missing
asking for
him.
him to come out because they like him as a character or whatever. Like I can't wait for him to get out of the box. But
Yeah.
I didn't really see anything that suggested to me that people were trying to treat it like a narrative flaw that he was still in the box. Um, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have nothing else to say on it, I guess, other than like trying to pretend that oh, actually now it was very obvious the whole time that Gojo
Yeah,
was
it's
going to
silly.
immediately be killed instantly. Um, the only reason that you think that that's particularly obvious is because like you're a viewer in the real world and you understand how story structure works.
Yeah.
Um, but to try to misrepresent the fight as like this masterclass genius maneuver by Sukuna to become stronger. Hey, he has the ability to cut space or whatever now, and then he used it immediately after and missed. So it's not like he got this god ultimate technique or whatever. Like he can just do a thing that he will never again need to do because the only guy that has
Mhm.
Limitless is now dead. So
Yeah.
like I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you other than like it no matter what argument you try to make, taking your breakout character, inarguably the breakout character of the series. No, you can say you don't
Yes,
like him or
yes.
whatever, but to argue that he's not the breakout character of the series is insane.
100%, yeah.
And then sealing him up because you have to, and then you have that lingering like thread of one day he'll be back, and then bringing him back, putting him on screen for one chapter before the fight starts, and then having a fight happen where he dies is not an emotionally satisfying conclusion to your most popular character.
Yeah.
It's just not. Like,
There is also the typical, oh, well, sometimes the death is random and it can get anybody. That doesn't mean it's good.
yeah, yeah, you're right. It can be random, and random people can be killed at any time. Like you can just get hit by a brick as you're driving your car right
Yeah.
now. But your real life is not a story that's supposed to be enjoyable for the reader to
Mhm.
engage with. Like I don't know what to tell you. That's not it's not how it works.
Yeah. It's a story, not real life.
Yeah, it's a fucking storybook,
It's
and
a
like
story, and every decision is made by somebody.
by a person writing it down. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is not like the hand of God randomly grabbing Gege's pen and like
Yeah.
he's not using a Ouija board to figure out who to
Mhm.
kill next. This is a narrative choice that he's making. Um,
Though it would be cool if he did use a Ouija board. That would be
I
raw.
think that would be a cool way to write the story. Just let the
Let the
ghost of
spirits do it.
whatever Victorian child died here decide the plot. It's
uh,
just weird. I haven't seen any argument that says it was emotionally fulfilling other than just like it was very shocking, which is not the same thing.
yeah. And if you like it because it's shocking, then more power to you.
Yeah, I
It's
just
shock.
want to look at a character's existence in a work of art
Hmm.
and be like,
Hmm.
this was really good the whole time.
Yeah.
Because you also have to look at like now that Gojo is gone, there's really no emotional tie to Kenjaku using Geto's body anymore. Um, that doesn't
Oh, so you
matter anymore at
care about
all.
Shoko, bro.
Dude, oh, fucking Shoko. When between when she shows up to watch Gojo fight Sukuna, when's the last time she was on panel before that?
Don't ask me, dude. I don't know.
I can't even imagine. It must have been years. Um, yeah, there's no relevance anymore to Kenjaku having Geto's body because the only people that we really see engage with Geto's fall are all dead. Yaga
Mhm.
dead, Yuki dead. Granted, him and Yuki weren't like close, but Yuki did have that
Yeah.
talk with him ahead of time about like what it means, what he could do in his
Hmm.
life and all that stuff. And then Gojo now dead. Um, so now we're looking at Kenjaku in Geto's body, and Kenjaku is just completely like divorced from the concept of Geto now, which is, in my opinion, shitty because
Hmm.
him having Geto's body was for a narrative purpose up to that point, and
Yeah.
now there's not one anymore. Um, I guess he could lose to the fucking comedian, but probably not.
Yeah,
Um,
probably not.
probably not. So like, I don't know what to. I can't care anymore that he's in Geto's body because no other character cares about that fact. Is the only other character that even like has a vague connection to Geto is what, like
Yuta?
Yuta?
Yeah.
Yeah, which not really because he like all they did was like I'm gonna kill you.
All Yuta did was almost kill him, yeah.
Yeah, beat him to near death. Um,
Yeah.
they had no like emotional connection, and so I don't know. I just don't know like why it even matters. Like I would like to have seen some resolution to that, other than just like talking to a fake figment of your imagination Geto in hell afterward.
Hey, man.
I don't know, man.
When Gojo gets up next arc, it's over, dude.
There are still people posting that he's totally coming back, and I'm like, bro, we've said that about every single Jujutsu Kaisen character that is supposedly dead for how
Yeah, how's
long now?
Nobara doing, dude?
No, Nobara still
She's chilling.
is just chilling at home playing Smash Bros. Toto, everyone's been like, Toto, he didn't even die. He ain't coming back though.
Yeah, he fucked off. He's like, yeah, I'm done. I'm packing up.
I've simply just finished. Um, I I I don't really know why he can't come back because why does the series pick and choose who gets to get their arm back and who doesn't? What's the logic behind who doesn't get to get their arm back? Like
Well,
I've seen people say that you can't heal what Mahito does, and I don't think that's true. The only
I
time
don't
that
know.
they mention that reverse curse technique wouldn't work is when Mahito turns Junpei into a fucking cartoon alligator, and
All I
obviously
know,
that's not gonna work
yeah, Hakari got his arm back because of
because he
his
has to have
hacked.
his arm to use his domain expansion. That's why he got it back.
um, and then obviously, everyone else was using RCT. Toto can't use it. I don't know enough about JJK Power System, but I don't know what the time frame is where you can like RCT something back.
Well, Yuta RCT'd Maki back to normal when she was like a torn apart husk of a body
Yeah,
in JJK
Yuta's
Zero.
different. Trust.
I mean, he is kind of built different.
Also,
But
what's
like,
he doing?
yeah, where you at, buddy? Well, I guess we don't know because we didn't get to see a single thing in the aftermath of Kashimo.
Yeah,
By the way, this is vaguely off topic, but is Kashimo the most irrelevant character ever introduced into a story ever for any
he's
purpose?
so fucking bad, and I'm so dude. Oh, Ninjaristic Ninja, if you're listening, I'll never forgive you. All the fucking people I have to see gassing Hakari versus Kashimo, and they post the damn Hakari dancing gift, dude.
It's
Oh, I'm
just
so
it's
sick of.
just like ignoring the fact that Hikari shooters are delusional, Kashimo might be the most irrelevant character I've maybe ever seen from a
Yes.
series trying to bill him as like a heavy hitter big dude. Like he has he kills a bunch of nobodies off screen. He has one fight against Hikari with which he loses. Um, and then his only purpose, the only reason he exists at all, is because he wants to fight Sukuna. And so he does
Mhm.
that, and he gets immediately just blasted straight to hell in like one chapter.
Yeah.
Why even
Genuinely the
put that
biggest
character
fraud
in the
in
story?
Weekly
Yeah,
Shonen Jump.
yeah, just absolute fraud status a million, like useless, utterly useless as a character. Um, I don't know, man. What the fuck?
Also,
Do
for
better.
legal purposes, Ninjaristic is great, by the way. You guys should watch his
Yes,
NNVs. They're
he's
fantastic.
amazing. I love that guy.
Single-handedly carrying Hikari PR.
Oh, seriously, whether he meant to or not, this guy is like the entire
Yeah.
Hikari PR firm.
Yeah.
Oh man, I
Did
don't
we get
know.
it all out of our systems? Are we
I think so. I think I'm good now. I just had to
okay?
scream about stuff for a while.
All right. I mean, I like it.
Yeah, it's
Maybe for the future we should consider like talking about less series and talk about more things that are ongoing in the communities of these series.
yeah. I think that's not a bad idea because we have a lot of series. Like it's part of the reason we go bi-weekly as well. Is we have a lot of series where we're just like
Yeah.
that
We hit that
occurred.
Akane Banashi time slot. We're like, damn, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
So how about that MHA incest though?
yeah. Hey, listen. There's no way that the MHA incest conversation was not more interesting than us saying,
Yeah.
"Man, Akane Banashi. I know it's good, but I have nothing to say about it." Next, like, come on. But all right, that's the one in the books, everybody. That's a totally
Yeah.
intended one that we didn't need to
Yeah.
do anything
I guess
prior
I
about.
guess if I guess if anyone listening likes this format more, just let us know.
Yes, let us know if you prefer us talking about like stuff that's going on in the community, like it, because we are engaging in discussions that are happening that you all have probably also
Mhm.
participated in. Um, so if you find that more
Yeah.
interesting to like hear what we think about certain things,
To use.
as
Yeah.
opposed to like this week we read Akane Banashi and thoughts, and we're moving
You
on. Like,
guys you guys can tap in to get some validation for your beliefs or get
yeah,
mad about
yeah,
your
because
beliefs.
a huge amount of runtime on this show is this chapter was a chapter. Moving on, like, so yeah, let us know if you hated this and you wish we didn't do it, then we won't do it anymore. And if you thought it was pretty rad,
Right.
we'll look at maybe doing it again.
Yeah.
And with that, we will spare you all any further incest conversation, and we will be
Until next week.
until next week, knowing the MHA fan base. It's only a matter of
I'm
time.
sorry, 2 weeks from now. Sorry. I failed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, bi-weekly. Bi-weekly.
Oh, we didn't announce that in this episode. It was in the silent
Shit,
one.
it was in the silent one. Fuck. Oh my god, no
They'll
one's gonna hear
figure it
it.
out.
No one,
They'll
yeah,
figure
they'll
it
figure it out when there's no episode next week. Join the
out.
Discord, you fuckers. That's all you'll know.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody.